Chapter 3573. I'll Take You Flying. And Terry's mouth was as hard as his dragon scales. He simply wouldn't admit defeat. Even if Lin Moyu had really entered that place, he still had to be stubborn about it. With Antares, Lin Moyu was truly open about everything, without any concealment. He told Antares the correct method to enter the unknown realm, and also described in detail the situation inside the unknown realm. After listening, Antares murmured,
"So that's how to enter that place. No wonder even the ancestor dragon couldn't do it."
The divine dragon was the Tao lord of the Yang dragon Great Tao, which also had myriad projections. The ancestor dragon on the origin continent was just one of the Tao lords. After becoming a Tao lord, naturally the next step was the Great Tao struggle. They wanted to become true Great Tao lords and project their Great Tao into the unknown realm. Only in this way could their Great Tao. Lin Moyu shook his head.
"It's different. The ancestor dragon needs to engage in the Great Tao struggle. Only after he becomes a true Great Tao Lord will he have the chance to project his Great Tao into the unknown realm. As for me, I entered the unknown realm because I obtained the yin-yang origin and passed the test. These are two completely different results."
Antares chuckled.
"You keep calling that place the unknown realm. Do you know what it's really called?"
Antares had an expression that seemed to say,
"Now you don't know, do you?"
Looking a bit annoying, Lin Moyu said,
"The unknown realm is just a name. I only need to know what that name represents. As for what it's specifically called, it doesn't matter. I could even call it a garbage dump and it wouldn't matter. Just like you're called Antares, but Antares isn't your real name. It's enough that I know you as Antares. Your real name isn't important."
Antares was stunned for a moment, speechless. In verbal sparring, he had never won against Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu said,
"If you're willing to tell me the name of that place, I'd be very happy to hear it. And I have something else I want to ask you."
Antares snorted.
"I'm not going to tell you that place is called the Return to Origin Realm."
Lin Moyu smiled. Antares' stubbornness was fully displayed at this moment. So that place was called the Return to Origin Realm, which was quite fitting. This also corresponded with what the third ancestor had said. It was the starting point of all origins and all great Taos, and also the final endpoint. It was the place where everything originated from and returned to. Lin Moyu asked,
"When I was there, I saw an eye. The owner of the eye was terrifying, and the eye seemed to contain countless Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. Do you know what that thing is?"
Lin Moyu's question made Antares fall silent. His gaze carried contemplation, as if recalling something. After a long while, Antares finally spoke again.
"I remember, when I entered the Origin ancestral land back then, I was not just at the 6th level of Tao Venerable Realm. I also vaguely sensed that above the Great Tao, there was a terrifying existence. The reason I could sense it was because it had an aura similar to mine."
Lin Moyu frowned slightly.
"Similar aura?"
Antares nodded.
"That's right, a similar aura. If I didn't sense wrong, it might also be a dragon."
Dragon? Lin Moyu's heart trembled. He recalled that I did indeed look a bit like a dragon's eye, but its existence was clearly stronger than the ancestor dragon. What could it be? However, this was just Antares' guess and couldn't be certain. Lin Moyu said in a low voice,
"In its eye, I saw myriad Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. I feel that the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins might have been nurtured by it. If that's the case, could it be that all the myriad worlds were born because of it?"
This speculation was really quite bold. The myriad worlds, countless living beings, countless worlds. Could they all have been born because of one powerful being? It obviously seemed somewhat unrealistic. Even with Lin Moyu's boundless imagination, he didn't dare to guess this. Antares was also clearly startled by Lin Moyu's speculation.
"That shouldn't be the case, right?"
Lin Moyu said,
"Anything is possible in this world. I'll assume this for now, but the true reason might only be revealed when I become a Great Tao Lord. However, I also don't believe that any living being can nurture the myriad worlds."
Lin Moyu indeed didn't believe it. If the owner of that I was really so powerful, then what about the green-robed old man? If it could nurture the myriad worlds, how strong would it have to be? Would the green-robed old man still be a match? At least from what he saw in that eye, Lin Moyu didn't feel it would be stronger than the green-robed old man. And Terry's shook his head.
All right. In this world, might makes right anyway. If your strength isn't there, talking about those things is useless.
Lin Moyu said with puzzlement.
After entering the Return to Origin realm, I kept thinking about questions, but it seemed like a layer of mist blocked my thoughts. Many things simply couldn't be figured out.
And Terry's had a look that said,
This is normal.
his huge dragon eyes just staring at Lin Moyu.
What's so strange about that? This thing is called the realm barrier. If your realm isn't high enough, you'll be limited by the rules of heaven and earth. If your soul level wasn't high enough, you wouldn't even be able to think about these things. I finally understand. The Origin ancestral land was originally prepared for the children of Tai Yang and Tai Yin. Only they can refine the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins and qualify to enter the Return to Origin realm. Otherwise, you'd have to wait until becoming a great Tao Lord to enter. But becoming a great Tao Lord is too damn difficult. You can't even become a projection Tao Lord, let alone a great Tao Lord.
What Antares said was correct. Becoming a projection Tao Lord was already extremely difficult, let alone a true great Tao Lord. Moreover, even after becoming a great Tao Lord, one still had to project their great Tao into the Return to Origin realm, which was equally difficult. If it were really that easy over countless years, there wouldn't be just these few great Taos in the Return to Origin realm. At least the Yang Dragon Great Tao that Antares cultivated hadn't yet entered the Return to Origin realm. If Antares entered the Soul Void, he would face many restrictions and wouldn't be able to move around so easily. Perhaps in areas constantly illuminated by the Yang Dragon Great Tao, his combat power wouldn't be too bad. But in areas not covered by the Yang Dragon Great Tao, Antares' strength would be greatly weakened, facing danger. Compared to Antares, Lin Moyu was much better off. The Undeath Great Tao, Time Great Tao, and Power Great Tao had all been projected into the Return to Origin realm, with their power spread throughout the myriad worlds and the Soul Void. This was the advantage of comprehending multiple Great Taos. Seeing that Lin Moyu wasn't speaking, Antares couldn't help but ask.
The great changes in heaven and earth are getting closer. You said before that you wanted to guide these changes. How exactly do you plan to guide them?
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
The reason I came to find you this time is to go together. If my guess isn't wrong, we can gain enormous benefits from these changes in heaven and earth.
Antares trusted Lin Moyu unconditionally.
All right, I'll listen to you. Whatever you say, I'll do.
Lin Moyu said.
Then let's go, to the Great Vortex.
Antares nodded.
Get on, I'll take you flying.
Chapter 3574. No need to be so troublesome. Antares soared through the black clouds, heading straight for the Great Vortex. Having chosen to trust Lin Moyu, he didn't waste any words, but was a bit curious.
Little Lin, you say there's a secret under the Great Vortex?
Lin Moyu nodded.
There's a great sealing formation under the Boundary Sea, sealing the remnants of the Origin catastrophe. It's like a huge scar. To restore the Origin continent, we must erase this scar.
Antares said.
I know about that sealing formation, but I've never seen it in person. If I'm not mistaken, the faction that the King of the Boundary Sea belongs to is responsible for guarding that formation. According to what you say, if you want to go into that sealing formation, shouldn't you first give them a heads up?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
No need. If we enter through the Great Vortex, we should be able to reach the inside of the seal directly.
Antares frowned slightly.
There's a very strong formation in the Great Vortex. I've seen it before. It's not easy to break.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Before I entered the Origin ancestral land, I indeed couldn't do anything about that formation, but now I can try. If it doesn't work, I'll think of other methods.
Antares curved his dragon head, one eye looking at Lin Moyu.
Sometimes I really wonder if you're the reincarnation of some Tao Lord from the past. Your cultivation speed is just too fast.
Lin Moyu chuckled.
I've thought about this question too. Some have said I might be the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell, but as of now, I am just myself. Even if I really am the reincarnation of some powerful being, I'm still just me. What's past is past and doesn't matter.
Antares said.
All right, if you say it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter.
Lin Moyu asked.
What about you? If during the great changes in heaven and earth, you gain enough benefits to take that step, what do you plan to do next?
Antares snorted coldly.
What else can I do? Naturally, I'll kill my way back to the outer sky great Tao. Those guys, I won't let a single one off.
Lin Moyu said.
Killing your own kind, can you really bring yourself to do it?
Antares said.
What's there to hesitate about? When they treated me like that back then, they were no longer my kin.
Lin Moyu knew Antares' story. If it were him, he would probably also kill his way back, dyeing the great Tao with blood. In Lin Moyu's eyes, there were only 3 types of beings in the world: his own people, strangers, and enemies. His Tao heart was firm. He never had useless thoughts of excessive mercy, nor did he often have feelings of sympathy. Even if sympathy occasionally arose, it was because the subsequent events might benefit him. Benefits weren't immediate, but rather about cause and effect. At his level, he paid more attention to cause and effect. Passing through the black clouds, braving thunder and lightning, Antares arrived at the boundary sea again. Looking at the vortexes of various sizes, Lin Moyu had a new feeling. These vortexes were distributed across the boundary sea, their positions almost unchanged. It was itself a formation. Fortunately, this formation wasn't complex. Lin Moyu only needed to look a few times to have a plan in mind. He casually drew several divine runes and threw them into the boundary sea. This seemingly casual action had already greatly weakened the effect of the formation. The dragon and the man circled the central vortex several times. Lin Moyu threw down hundreds of divine runes. On the surface, the formation seemed unchanged, but once Lin Moyu activated the runes, it could at least reduce the formation's power by half. Finally, Antares arrived at the central vortex. Before they could get close, a vicious-looking formation spirit emerged from the center of the vortex. It was a formation spirit, but it had lost its rationality and become a vicious spirit. Its state was similar to that of a tool spirit that had turned vicious. Could no longer communicate or reason. Anyone approaching the formation was its enemy, and it would attack indiscriminately. Lin Moyu understood the significance of this. In this way, the formation had no breakthrough point. To enter the central vortex, one had to deal with this formation spirit, which meant facing the formation itself. Antares said,
This formation spirit's power is very strong. I tried it the first time I came. It can draw power from the boundary sea. Even I couldn't do anything about it.
Antares could only exert a small part of his strength on the origin continent. Under these circumstances, he couldn't handle the formation spirit. Lin Moyu said,
Small matter. I'll handle it.
He had already examined the formation in the central vortex and knew how to deal with it. With a thought, the divine runes he had previously thrown into the boundary sea were activated. Streams of light burst from the boundary sea, reaching the sky. Hundreds of light streams formed a divine rune in the black clouds, right above the central vortex. As Lin Moyu willed it, the divine rune crashed down towards the center of the vortex. The formation spirit in the central vortex let out a sharp howl. Streams of water shot out, turning into spears, stabbing towards the divine rune. Boom! The divine rune shook once, then crushed countless spears and plunged into the central vortex. The formation spirit's cries became increasingly unpleasant. The entire central vortex began to glow as the formation was fully activated. But because of Lin Moyu's earlier preparations, this formation wasn't as strong as imagined. In fact, it was somewhat weak. The formation spirit howled and screamed, but no matter how it screamed, it was of no use. When Lin Moyu decided to act, the outcome was already determined. Lin Moyu said,
I've cut off its connection with the boundary sea.
Antares saw what Lin Moyu had done.
But your divine runes can't last long in the boundary sea, right?
Lin Moyu nodded.
From activation to destruction, about 10 minutes. That's enough.
As he spoke, he pointed a finger, and the skeleton hell fell into the vortex. The central vortex contained a powerful tearing force, enough to tear apart Tao Venerables below the 7th level. But this tearing force was nothing before the current skeleton hell. The skeleton hell demonstrated what it meant to devour everything. Even formation spirits were no exception. However, Lin Moyu had no intention of letting the skeleton hell devour the formation spirit. This formation spirit still had its purpose for now. With the skeleton hell restraining the formation spirit, Lin Moyu smiled and said,
Let's go, we're going in.
Antares plunged into the central vortex without hesitation. Without the interference of the formation spirit, the danger in the central vortex was greatly reduced. In the central vortex, a great formation was activated. The formation automatically launched attacks at Antares. Dense red lightning struck down, and Antares took it all, shouting loudly,
Exciting, this is exciting.
These lightning attacks were all very strong, almost surpassing the supreme realm. Even without the formation spirit, no Tao Venerable could safely pass through this formation. The depth of the boundary sea exceeded 1,000,000 meters, which meant that the depth of this vortex might also exceed 1,000,000 meters. At this point, the formation was just beginning. Lin Moyu observed the formation in the vortex, continuously drawing divine runes. One by one, the divine runes merged into the formation, gradually weakening its power. Lin Moyu used his methods to break the formation. He didn't destroy the formation, but sought ways to gain control over it. Antares shouted loudly,
No need to be so troublesome, let's just charge through.
Although Antares couldn't exert his full battle power, his true body was here. With his tough skin and thick flesh, he didn't care about the attacks in the formation. Lin Moyu said,
It's better to be careful. Who knows what's waiting for us down there?
Chapter 3575. Isn't that right, Senior Waterstop? Antares endured the attacks while Lin Moyu continuously weakened the formation and gradually took control of it step by step. Once the formation was in hand, the formation spirit could be used by Lin Moyu, which is why he left it alive instead of killing it. Lin Moyu had a feeling that this formation wasn't as simple as it appeared on the surface. It not only sealed the outer gods at the bottom of the boundary sea, but also had other purposes. Given the strength of this formation, the aura of the outer gods at the bottom of the boundary sea shouldn't have leaked out. Even with the erosion of time, this formation had the ability to self-repair. However, in reality, the aura of the outer gods had indeed leaked out, causing abnormalities in the creatures of the boundary sea near the Great Vortex. The deeper they went into the formation, the more Lin Moyu felt that things shouldn't be this way. Antares continued to sink in the Great Vortex. Soon they exceeded a depth of 500,000 meters, and Lin Moyu finally saw some anomalies in the formation. Within the original formation, another layer of formation appeared.
Stop!
Lin Moyu called out lightly, and Antares immediately halted.
What's wrong?
Lin Moyu said,
There's a problem with the formation. Someone has tampered with it.
Antares instinctively asked.
What kind of tampering?
Although he also knew formations, he was far inferior to Lin Moyu and couldn't see anything wrong. Lin Moyu said,
Let me take a look.
Lin Moyu used his full eyesight to observe the formation. Extremely complex divine runes were deconstructed in his vision. The person who set up this formation was very powerful, and the formation they created was nearly perfect. But the person who tampered with this formation was equally powerful. They had integrated another formation into the original one. The appearance of this formation caused some minor changes to the original formation. The original formation was designed to absorb power from the outside world to seal the bottom of the boundary sea. After integrating the new formation, the function of the original formation remained unchanged. But when absorbing power from the outside world, it also gained another direction. It would simultaneously absorb power from the outer gods within the seal. This absorbed power wasn't strong, and the absorbed history would be sealed away. In this process, the power of the outer gods leaked out, thus affecting the nearby creatures of the Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu carefully separated the two formations, then pointed in a direction.
Go there.
Antares didn't hesitate. Wherever Lin Moyu pointed, he charged forward. The space inside the vortex wasn't small, enough for Antares to maneuver. Following Lin Moyu's directions, he got closer and closer to the formation, almost touching it. At this point, Lin Moyu called for another stop, and Antares obediently halted. Within the formation, lightning constantly struck out. Antares endured it all without even furrowing his brow. This level of attack was like a tickle to him, posing no threat at all. Lin Moyu quickly drew divine runes, one after another. Dozens of divine runes flew out, revealing another passage within the formation.
Go in.
Antares carried Lin Moyu into the passage. Following it downwards, they soon arrived in a peculiar space.
What is this place?
Antares frowned, feeling extremely uncomfortable in this space, especially the numerous fist-sized pearls floating in the space, which gave him a sense of disgust. Lin Moyu said,
Someone has tampered with this sealing formation. The formation has been absorbing power from the outer gods for many years, gathering it here. These pearls are what's been absorbed from the outer gods.
Antares asked,
Who did this? Why would they do such a thing?
Lin Moyu said,
From the formation techniques, it should be someone from the Great Tao Array sect, but I'm not sure why they did it.
Antares asked curiously,
Could it be that there are still people from the Great Tao Array sect left on the origin continent?
Lin Moyu chuckled.
Who knows? Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. Perhaps they tampered with it and then left.
Having encountered formations from the Great Tao Array sect before, Lin Moyu knew they had a special flavor, and their structure was different from other formation masters. So Lin Moyu could determine that the person who tampered with this was from the Great Tao Array sect. But the person who set up this sealing formation was not from the Great Tao Array sect. Lin Moyu asked,
In the outer sky Great Tao, or before the origin catastrophe, besides the Great Tao Array sect, were there any other sects that excelled in the Tao of formations?
Antares said,
There were many sects skilled in the Tao of formations, but most were small sects, incomparable to the Great Tao Array sect. More accurately, there was basically no sect that could compare to the Great Tao Array sect in formations.
Lin Moyu looked puzzled.
Really none?
Antares thought for a moment more.
Indeed, no sect could match the Great Tao Array sect in formations. Moreover, the Great Tao Array sect possessed the origin of the formation Great Tao. Other sects had no chance even if they wanted to compete.
Lin Moyu thought for a while.
Then besides sects, was there anyone particularly skilled in setting up large sealing formations? I want to know who created this sealing formation.
When Antares left, the origin catastrophe hadn't fully ended, and this sealing formation hadn't appeared yet, so Antares didn't know who had set it up. Antares searched through his distant memories, starting from the origin catastrophe. After a moment, his eyes lit up.
I thought of someone who might be possible.
Lin Moyu asked.
Who?
Antares said.
That person came from the He province of the origin continent. He once wanted to join the Great Tao Array sect but was ultimately rejected for some reason. Not only rejected, but he seemed to have been insulted and mocked by members of the Great Tao Array sect. Later, he joined another sect and devoted himself to cultivation. When everyone thought he had given up on the formation Great Tao, he advanced to become a top formation master with a world-sealing formation, surpassing all formation masters of the Great Tao Array sect in the field of sealing formations. The Great Tao Array sect was very displeased with his existence, and even tried to kill him several times. Not only did they fail to kill him, but he even killed a few of them in retaliation. He even spent 10,000 years trying to use formations to seal off the Great Tao Array sect. Unfortunately, the Great Tao Array sect had the origin formation in hand, So he ultimately didn't succeed. However, that incident caused the Great Tao Array sect to lose all face. The Great Tao Array sect viewed him as a thorn in their side, but he later disappeared without a trace.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Truly a legendary figure. What's his name?
Antares said.
He was known as the World-Sealing Tao Lord. As for his real name, no one knows. World-Sealing Tao Lord.
Lin Moyu murmured.
Assuming this sealing formation is the work of the World-Sealing Tao Lord, then it's understandable why someone from the Great Tao Array sect would come to cause some damage.
Antares hadn't yet understood the connection.
But doing this doesn't benefit the Great Tao Array sect at all.
Lin Moyu smiled and said.
Sometimes, actions don't necessarily need to benefit oneself, as long as they harm the enemy. Isn't that right, Senior Waterstop?
Chapter 3576. Waterstop Tianzuan's past. Lin Moyu's call of
Senior Waterstop
nearly made Antares' scales stand on end. His dragon eyes swept the surroundings, glowing with golden light. But after searching around, he didn't find the Senior Waterstop Lin Moyu mentioned.
Are you mistaken? There's no one else here.
At this moment, a voice slowly sounded.
As expected, I can't hide from Tao friend Lin.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
If your emotions hadn't fluctuated just now, I wouldn't have noticed either.
A shadowy figure appeared within the formation. It was Waterstop Tianzuan. Antares stared with wide eyes.
There really is someone.
Although his power was restricted, there were still very few in this world who could escape his notice. This turtle-like fellow was only a Tianzuan, yet he could hide from Antares, showing his extraordinariness. Moreover, he could hide within the formation, which was even more unimaginable. Lin Moyu smiled at Waterstop Tianzuan and said,
Should I call you Waterstop Tianzuan, or World-Sealing Tao Lord?
Waterstop Tianzuan chuckled.
When we met, I was already Waterstop, with no connection to the World-Sealing Tao Lord.
Antares stared.
You're the World-Sealing Tao Lord?
Lin Moyu lightly patted Antares' head.
He already said he has no connection to the World-Sealing Tao Lord anymore.
Waterstop Tianzuan laughed.
You're Long Huan, right? Do you remember, when you were young we met?
He had lived for a very, very long time, even outranking Antares in seniority. Antares called out,
My name is Antares. Long Huan is already dead.
Lin Moyu said helplessly.
All right, you've both died once. No matter what you were called before, now you're Antares and Waterstop Tianzuan. Senior Waterstop, the sealing formation at the bottom of the boundary sea is your handiwork, right?
Waterstop Tianzuan said.
That's right. It was set up by this old man in his previous life.
Lin Moyu said.
Then this tampering was done by someone from the Great Tao Array sect. Why didn't you stop it?
Waterstop Tianzuan smiled.
Why should I stop it?
At these words, Antares was confused, but Lin Moyu fell into thought. After pondering, he seemed to understand the meaning behind Waterstop Tianzuan's words.
You wanted to send karma to the Great Tao Array sect?
Waterstop Tianzuan laughed heartily.
Tao friend Lin is truly clever, understanding with just a hint. This old man has a story. Would Tao friend Lin like to hear it?
Lin Moyu took out a large jar of fine wine and tossed it over.
Please speak, I'll listen.
He wasn't in a hurry now. Since there was a story to hear, why not enjoy it? Waterstop Tianzuan said.
A long time ago, there was a cultivator born with a heavenly formation. He had extraordinary comprehension ability. Any formation was transparent to him at a glance. Formations that others needed 1,000 years to research, he could master in less than 10 years.
This was a very long story, which Waterstop Tianzuan recounted while drinking wine. The protagonist of the story was born with a heavenly formation, possessing a formation in his body from birth, truly a genius in cultivating the formation Great Tao. Normally, he should have joined the Great Tao Array sect, and in fact, after entering the Great Tao realm, he did join the Great Tao Array sect. Originally, if all went smoothly, he could have researched the formation Great Tao, become a pillar of the Great Tao Array sect in the future, and even glimpsed the position of Tao Lord of the formation Great Tao. Unfortunately, the subsequent developments were unexpected. The sect master of the Great Tao Array sect forcibly stripped him of his heavenly formation and killed him. The heavenly formation was a Great Tao formation. After stripping the heavenly formation, the sect master of the Great Tao Array sect had the opportunity to use the heavenly formation to explore the position of Tao Lord. At the same time, he could eliminate a potential competitor. Tao Lords engage in the Great Tao struggle, and below Tao Lords, competition also exists. Unexpectedly, he didn't die. The reason he didn't die was precisely because of the heavenly formation. He had anticipated that the Great Tao Array sect would harm him, so he had prepared a backup plan early on. He hid the heavenly formation and then created a replica. What the sect master of the Great Tao Array sect took was only the replica, and he was reborn through the heavenly formation, living a second life. In his second life, he was the world-sealing Tao Lord. He retraced the path of cultivation, returned to the Great Tao realm, and displayed extraordinary talent in formations. With all the memories of his previous life intact, his formations all bore traces of the Great Tao Array sect, quickly attracting their attention. The Great Tao Array sect absolutely would not allow their formations to leak out. A pursuit and assassination began, which was exactly what the world-sealing Tao Lord wanted. This was his counterattack and revenge against the Great Tao Array sect. The pursuers were all killed by the world-sealing Tao Lord, and all through formations. This method of death was a great insult to the Great Tao Array sect. Priding themselves as the #1 sect in formations, possessing the origin formation, yet their own formation masters were killed by someone else's formations. The world-sealing Tao Lord repeatedly slapped the face of the Great Tao Array sect. Afterwards, the Great Tao Array sect's pursuit of him never stopped, but they could do nothing against the world-sealing Tao Lord. Eventually, the world-sealing Tao Lord spent 10,000 years setting up a world-shaking formation. This formation was named the Heaven-Sealing Tao-Severing Formation. The world-sealing Tao Lord intended to use this formation to seal the entire Great Tao Array sect. Unfortunately, the Great Tao Array sect possessed the origin formation. They activated the origin formation to break the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation. In other words, the world-sealing Tao Lord's attainment in formations had already surpassed the Great Tao Array sect. If the Great Tao Array sect didn't have the origin formation in hand, they might have been completely suppressed by the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation. At this point, Water-Stop Tianzuan laughed heartily.
Although they broke the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation, the power accumulated by the origin formation over countless years was also depleted by half. This old man took the opportunity to steal a part of the origin formation, cutting off their hope of becoming the Tao Lord of the formation Great Tao.
Antares was completely shocked. The person before him had a bigger guts than himself. What kind of existence was the Great Tao Array sect? He actually contended with them single-handedly, and almost won. Lin Moyu said,
"Then you've already won. The loss to the Great Tao Array sect is immeasurable, but I imagine you must have paid a considerable price as well."
Water-Stop Tianzuan said,
"Naturally. The origin formation isn't so easy to deal with, but this old man isn't afraid. This old man possesses the heavenly formation and has several chances at rebirth. This old man has plenty of capital. Later, this old man hid in the origin continent. They didn't dare to come to the origin continent to pursue and kill me, they could only watch helplessly. Then the origin catastrophe erupted. This old man also knew that the Great Tao Array sect was putting in work but not effort. Those fellows are just like that. During the origin catastrophe, the 5 continents sank. This old man, entrusted by the Great Tao, exhausted a lifetime of cultivation to set up a great formation using the 5 continents as the foundation."
Lin Moyu said,
"If I'm not mistaken, this formation at the bottom of the boundary sea is the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation?"
Water-Stop Tianzuan chuckled.
"That's right, it's the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation. This is also this old man's strongest formation."
Lin Moyu continued,
"If I'm not mistaken, later when people from the Great Tao Array sect came and tampered with your formation, it was actually with your tacit permission."
Water-stop Tianzuan smiled even more happily.
Not just permission, this old man even opened a back door for them, making it easier for them to do so.
Lin Moyu gave a thumbs up.
You're truly formidable. You've got the great Tao Array sect completely under your thumb. After this great change in heaven and earth, the great Tao Array sect is going to cry their eyes out.
Water-stop Tianzuan laughed loudly.
That's right, they'll cry themselves to death then.
Chapter 3577. You'd better not go. Lin Moyu and Water-stop Tianzuan were both smiling brightly. Although Lin Moyu had never directly clashed with the great Tao Array sect, they had already formed a grudge. As for Water-stop Tianzuan and the great Tao Array sect, they were mortal enemies, each wanting to kill the other. Antares looked at the two of them, feeling somewhat confused by what he heard. He understood the first half, but couldn't make sense of the latter half. He also didn't know how Water-stop Tianzuan had schemed against the great Tao Array sect. Antares said,
Can you explain more clearly?
Lin Moyu explained.
It's actually very simple. It involves karma. The heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation at the bottom of the boundary sea was required to be set up by the great Tao of the origin continent. This is the will of heaven. The will of heaven cannot be violated. If successful, there's a reward, but if there's a flaw, there will be severe punishment, and the punishment will certainly be more terrifying than the reward. Moreover, the great Tao only looks at results, not the process. If something goes wrong in the middle, punishment will still be meted out. After Water-stop Senior set up the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation, the great Tao Array sect found out and came to tamper with it. They wanted this formation to fail, so the great Tao would attribute the failure to Water-stop Senior, and then Water-stop Senior would be punished, possibly dying in the Tao. This was the killing trap set by the great Tao Array sect for Water-stop Senior, but Water-stop Senior turned the tables on them. He opened a back door for the great Tao Array sect, allowing them to successfully complete their own killing trap. Then, Water-stop Senior probably went to reincarnate, and the former world-sealing Tao Lord died like this. In this way, the great Tao had no one to punish or reward, but the flaw in the formation still existed. Someone still had to take the blame. So who do you think will take the blame?
Antares instinctively replied.
The great Tao Array sect.
Lin Moyu chuckled.
Correct answer.
Antares immediately felt a chill down his spine. This kind of scheme, spanning countless years and involving personal sacrifice, was not only impossible to break, but even difficult to see through.
What kind of people are these? Dealing with such people, you wouldn't even know how you died.
Antares screamed inwardly, instinctively wanting to stay far away from this Water-stop Tianzuan. But thinking again, Lin Moyu seemed to be this type of person too. After all, only similar people could see through each other's schemes.
Forget it. I've already boarded the pirate ship. There's no getting off now.
Antares finally gave up his inner struggle, adopting an attitude of,
Since I'm here, I might as well accept it.
That's it. I'm tired. I won't struggle anymore. Lin Moyu didn't know Antares had so much drama in his heart. He looked at Water-stop Tianzuan.
Then what does Water-stop Senior intend to do this time?
Water-stop Tianzuan smiled at Lin Moyu.
Let me ask you a question. Are we friends?
Lin Moyu nodded.
Of course, we are naturally friends. Moreover, Water-stop Senior has shown kindness to this junior. A kindness I will always remember.
Water-stop Tianzuan nodded.
That's enough with your words.
As he spoke, he spat out a pearl. This was an item used by sea races to record various information. However, the pearl Water-stop Tianzuan spat out was obviously more exquisite, emanating a rich great Tao power, clearly from the outer sky great Tao. Water-stop Tianzuan said,
There are some formation materials in here. You can look at them when you're bored. However, some formations are from the great Tao Array sect. If you want to use them, it's best to make some changes.
Lin Moyu was overjoyed. He had always wanted to obtain formation materials from the great Tao Array sect. He didn't expect such a windfall, obtaining them so easily. Water-stop Tianzuan's previous life was the world-sealing Tao Lord, and the life before that was a genius disciple of the great Tao Array sect. Waterstop Tianzuan possessed most of the formations of the great Tao Array sect. His formation materials were truly a treasure. However, Lin Moyu seemed to realize why Waterstop Tianzuan was doing this. He was raising the stakes, including the question he asked earlier.
Are we friends?
After getting Lin Moyu's acknowledgement, if Lin Moyu gained benefits and his luck increased, he could also benefit. Now, by adding material things, their karmic connection would deepen, and the benefits gained could be even more. But none of this mattered. Lin Moyu didn't mind Waterstop Tianzuan's small calculations. Waterstop Tianzuan said,
The heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation is also in there. If you want to go in, it's best to study it. And you.
He looked at Antares.
Your relationship with Tao friend Lin is very deep. Your fortunes and karma are intertwined. If Tao friend Lin can become the guide of the great changes in heaven and earth, you can also gain many benefits.
Lin Moyu said,
It seems this junior's thoughts weren't wrong. The heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation is indeed the key to triggering the great changes in heaven and earth.
Waterstop Tianzuan said,
It's the key, but timing is also important. If heaven and earth aren't fully prepared and you trigger it prematurely, it will not only be useless but harmful. Moreover, only you can go there alone. This big guy, it's better if he doesn't go.
Lin Moyu frowned.
Why?
Waterstop Tianzuan said,
You're so smart, how can you not think of this? There can only be one guide. If you go together, who can become the guide, him or you? You want to split the benefits, which isn't wrong, but heaven and earth won't calculate it that way. It's very likely that in the end, someone else will become the guide. Over these years, those few have made many arrangements. What you see is only the surface, there's still the inside. They have gathered infinite power, just waiting for the great changes in heaven and earth to come.
Lin Moyu had indeed guessed that the third ancestor, Beast Emperor, and others must have made many arrangements. What was seen on the surface was just the surface. They must have backup plans. As a newcomer without much foundation, it would be very difficult for him to become the guide. If he were to split the rewards with Antares, it would be even more difficult. If he couldn't become the guide, then the benefits gained would be limited, and the future path would be difficult. In addition, there was what Waterstop Tianzuan said, that his choices would affect him. In other words, if he insisted on bringing Antares in with him, then Waterstop Tianzuan would intervene to stop it. Although he was only a Tianzuan, this formation was set up by him. He definitely had the ability to cause trouble for Lin Moyu. Waterstop Tianzuan had schemed against the great Tao Array sect, waiting countless years. He wouldn't give up because of Lin Moyu. Moreover, Lin Moyu had just received his formation materials. Antares understood this time and spoke up.
Then I won't go. Although I'm not fully prepared for this great change in heaven and earth, I can still gain quite a few benefits. Little Lin, you must become the guide. In the future when I kill my way up there, I'll still need you.
Antares spoke very decisively. Although he also wanted to become the guide, he didn't want to affect Lin Moyu because of himself. If both of them failed, it would benefit others instead. It was better for him to give up and let Lin Moyu succeed. Waterstop Tianzuan was very satisfied with Antares' choice.
Not bad, not bad. You're a good dragon, better than your father.
Antares called out.
Don't mention that guy, I don't like him.
Lin Moyu asked softly.
Have you really decided?
Antares said.
What's there to decide? Let's do it this way. You do well inside, and I'll wait for you outside.
Lin Moyu nodded, not wasting any more words. He opened the materials given by Waterstop Tianzuan and began to check the specific information about the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation. Chapter 3578. Don't mind this freak. The complexity of the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation ranked second among all the formations Lin Moyu had seen, only behind that divine rune in the Origin Ancestral Land. The divine rune in the Origin Ancestral Land had reached the limit of complexity, with a single rune able to transform into myriad formations. Moreover, Lin Moyu could only see its surface, unable to see its core at all. As for the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation, though difficult, it was at least comprehensible and could be studied and understood. However, due to realm limitations and material constraints, there were still many difficulties in trying to set it up. Lin Moyu discovered that his most proficient sealing formation was actually related to the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation. The sealing formation could be seen as a simplified version of the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation. Lin Moyu was engrossed in studying, forgetting everything else. Antares and Waterstop Tianzuan were drinking wine nearby, not disturbing Lin Moyu. Antares lowered his voice.
Can these auras of outer gods here really affect the great Dao Array sect?
Waterstop Tianzuan chuckled.
The will of heaven cannot be violated. The great Dao Array sect doing this is actually violating the will of heaven. Moreover, though these power auras aren't strong, their influence is vast. The surrounding millions of miles of sea area and countless boundary sea creatures are affected, many undergoing mutations. They were originally creatures of the origin continent, but now they've become outer realm creatures. Won't your great Dao be angered?
The great Dao never distinguishes between strong and weak beings. In the eyes of the great Dao, the life of a human and an ant are the same. When so many boundary sea creatures are polluted and become outer realm life forms, how could the great Dao not be angered? It's not angry now because the great Dao is also waiting for an opportunity, waiting for self-recovery. Once self-recovery is complete, it will surely bring down thunderous punishment. Antares roughly understood Waterstop Tianzuan's meaning and felt he was quite right. He gulped down a large jar of wine.
In that case, those fellows from the great Dao Array sect are indeed going to be in trouble. I've long disliked those guys, it's good to see them in trouble. Tell me, does the great Dao really have consciousness?
Waterstop Tianzuan shook his head slightly.
No consciousness. The great Dao will never have consciousness. This is determined by the origin of heaven and earth. You should understand what the true root of this world is.
Antares said.
The Taiyang origin and Taiyin origin.
Waterstop Tianzuan said.
That's right, these two great origins. The Taiyang origin nurtures the Taiyang ancestral dragon. The Taiyin origin nurtures the Taiyin ancestral dragon. These two divine dragons can be considered the earliest life forms in this world. The two great origins intertwine yin and yang, nurturing thousands of great Daos and countless living beings. This is their mission and responsibility, as well as their instinct. If one of them gained consciousness, or if both gained consciousness, it would be a huge disaster for this world. Therefore, they will not have consciousness, but they have instincts. They know what they need to do to benefit this world and themselves, nothing more. There are countless great Daos in the world, but only Taiyang and Taiyin are the true great Daos. Their combined will is the will of the great Dao, the will of heaven. If one day you can become the Taiyang ancestral dragon, you will understand these things. As for the Taiyin ancestral dragon, it's already gone.
Waterstop Tianzuan had lived 3 lives and could be considered one of the earliest Dao achievers. Except for not becoming a Dao Lord, his understanding of the great Dao and this world far surpassed Antares. It could be said that, apart from some Dao Lords, there were few who knew the beginning and end of this world better than him. Antares said,
Wasn't the Taiyin ancestral dragon subdued by the Lord of Hell and became the Netherworld Black Dragon?
Waterstop Tianzuan said,
Netherworld Black Dragon is just a name. No matter what it's called, its essence is still the Taiyin ancestral dragon. However, during the origin catastrophe, when the Lord of Hell was killed, the Netherworld Black Dragon also died. A trace of its origin fell into the western continent along with the Netherworld Black Pool. The Netherworld Black Pool used this trace of origin to re-evolve the Netherworld Black Dragon. But this Netherworld Black Dragon is no longer the former Taiyin ancestral dragon.
Antares said,
According to what you're saying, this world no longer has the Taiyang ancestral dragon and Taiyin ancestral dragon?
Waterstop Tianzuan nodded.
They're gone. The ancestral dragons actually died long ago. Even if they could be revived, they would no longer be the Taiyang ancestral dragon or Taiyin ancestral dragon. This is good news for you. There's no one above you now. You have the chance to become the new Taiyang ancestral dragon, and even the chance to go a step further.
Hearing this, Antares immediately became excited.
Please tell me more details, old sir.
Waterstop Tianzuan said.
Actually, the Lord of Hell had grand ambitions back then. He had another purpose in subduing the Taiyang ancestral dragon. Only a few people know about this, and fortunately, I am one of them. After subduing the Taiyang ancestral dragon, the Lord of Hell actually wanted to subdue the Taiyang ancestral dragon as well. What he was after was the Taiyang and Taiyang origins within the two divine dragons. The Taiyang ancestral dragon was quick to react and fled to the outer realms, but ended up in a wasteland and returned with a body full of inauspiciousness. This made the Lord of Hell give up on his plan to subdue the Taiyang ancestral dragon. It was precisely because of this that the Lord of Hell was stuck at that step, unable to advance, and had to take the risk of engaging in the great Tao struggle.
Antares was completely shocked. He never imagined there were such hidden secrets behind it all. The Taiyang ancestral dragon's journey to the outer realms wasn't to seek opportunities, but to escape death. But the result was that not only did it fail to escape, it returned tainted with inauspiciousness. Antares asked,
Why did the Lord of Hell want to do this?
Waterstop Tianzuan chuckled, with a hint of mystery.
At his level, wanting to take the next step was truly as difficult as ascending to heaven. He only had two paths to choose from. One was to become the Lord of this realm, the other was the Great Tao struggle. The Great Tao struggle was too dangerous, so he chose the first option, to become the Lord of this realm. To become the Lord of this realm, he needed to deal with the Taiyang and Taiyang origins, so naturally he sought out the Taiyang ancestral dragon and Taiyang ancestral dragon. It's just that your ancestral dragon escaped quickly, ruining the Lord of Hell's plans.
Antares stared blankly at Waterstop Tianzuan, instinctively asking,
How do you know all this so clearly?
Waterstop Tianzuan said,
At that time, the formation used by the Lord of Hell to subdue and refine the Taiyang ancestral dragon was set up by the sect master of the Great Taorai sect. To gain my trust, he allowed me to observe. He didn't expect that the Taiyang ancestral dragon and Taiyang ancestral dragon could communicate with each other, so the Taiyang ancestral dragon learned of this and escaped without a trace.
Antares pursued.
Then what about the inauspiciousness that the ancestral dragon was tainted with?
Waterstop Tianzuan shook his head.
It's not very clear. Anyway, the Lord of Hell didn't go after the ancestral dragon again, and he even stopped going to the dragon race's Great Tao. I guess this thing isn't easy to deal with. I heard the ancestral dragon later buried itself in the ancestral land. You'd better not go to that place if you can avoid it.
Antares' face immediately fell.
But I've been there.
Waterstop Tianzuan said.
The fact that you're still alive means there shouldn't be any problems. Actually, no one knows what that inauspiciousness really is, just that the Lord of Hell was very wary of it.
Antares finally relaxed.
Little Lin has also been to the ancestral land, and he seems fine too.
Waterstop Tianzuan glanced at Lin Moyu.
That guy, I can't see through him.
Antares took a sip of wine.
Don't mind this freak, let's continue our chat.